All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, in less than a month, Eswatini will join the rest of the world in observing the Global Money Week. But with the Central Bank of Eswatini, that conversation is already underway to empower young people with the knowledge and skills to make sound financial decisions. Apart from workshops and campaigns, what would it really take to have young and financially resilient eMaSwati? Yamashinga Mashwama, market conduct specialist from the CBE, is in studio. She's here to tell us how financial literacy can be turned to be a very evident economic participation. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Fantastic. Let's talk about, I think it's quite interesting that Eswatini, this conversation is already underway, but maybe let's premise the conversation by understanding Global Money Week that is run by the Central Bank right now.
Okay. So the Global Money Week is an event that is celebrated annually. It is internationally led by the OECD, where they issue the dates for jurisdictions to follow, and they issue a theme for each and every year.
Right.
So the aim of this event is to encourage or give power to the youth by giving of financial education by the theme that they use for that year. So as the Central Bank, we collaborate with a number of institutions in the country. It is actually locally led by the Ministry of Finance, which as a regulator under the ministry, we collaborate with FSRA, JA, with the students, enactors, tertiary students, and CFE, as part of organizing this event.
Yeah.
So the reason why, as you've said, it started earlier is because we've tried our best to expand knowledge on the event by introducing competitions that can run before the actual dates begin.
Yeah.
So that's part of the activities that we have planned for the event.
I think what really is interesting to me is the interest in young people. I just reflect on myself as a young person, perhaps not the most frugal young person, just a bad spender of money. Why is it important that young people be taught about financial literacy?
We believe they should be taught because they are already economic participants. So the fact that they receive certain income or money, we call it an allowance, to make certain financial decisions is already saying they're participating in the life of being an individual that is actually taking financial decisions. So from that stage, we believe that if we can empower them, they can also be able to take certain habits at that young age that they can live towards, and become adults that are more informed, that make better financial decisions, that understand how to go about having financial conversations, from just that young age of saying, let's talk about the money that you receive, that 50 emalangani, that 10 emalangani, you're buying airtime instead of a sweet. Let's have a conversation about that.
I just wonder because young people, especially the ones that are growing up right now who are very vocal and very confident. You see conversations on the internet around it's my money, it's my rules, do the things that you really enjoy and your responsibilities will come later. Just make sure that you enjoy your money. What is the cost of not being an ethical spender to a young person who doesn't have maybe the responsibilities that the both of us have?
Okay, I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
For the impact that we want to impart is more on the aspect of creating a habit. So if you do not start practicing a good habit, it means in the future it will be difficult to bring it in.
100%.
Right. So if we're able to empower you from that young age to say, how do I budget? How do I save? And for the fact that you don't need to have 100 or 1,000 emalangeni to actually save. It starts with that 50 cents, in that piggy bank. So from that, it's easy for you to always have a mindset of, as much as I want to have fun, as much as I want to always be seen in a certain way in life, I must still have that pocket, where I put in the few cents that I put in. So it starts with small habits that build up to bigger habits. So if we let that go, it'll be very difficult for you to then train yourself as an adult with more sums of money, whether working or even just scholarship allowance that you receive from university.
Atomic habits, I believe, is what the book nerds call it.
Yes.
I love that submission.
Yeah.
But what are some of the biggest challenges that we face as we impart this knowledge, especially to young people?
The biggest challenges is the reach of correct information to a young person. So the world we live in is very digital, and with the social media aspect of it, it's very quick for wrong information to be sent by every day. Yet for the regulatory space, the process of issuing information, positive information, can be a long time, such that by the time it gets to you as a young person, you may have made certain mistakes along the way. So I think that's one challenge that we continuously have to work towards, to make sure that we are ahead of the curve in the new age, in new products coming out, in new scams coming out, how we make sure that we keep abreast of those activities.
Yeah.
And I think the other aspect is more the risk-taking. Young people are risk-takers, you know, so even as you come into the space of being a risk-taker, being free, how do we make sure that we can continue to guide you and give you also the information that will help you take good risks, you know, because risk-taking can be a good thing in certain spaces, even in investment, for instance. If you're a risk-taker, we'll encourage that, invest, because there are certain types of investments that will be an appetite for your risk, you know, your risk level. And the other one is perceptions. It's difficult to change someone's perception when they believe something, you know. So I'll make an example that if I believe that I need to have a lot of money to invest, or that the investment products out there require me to have a lot of money, then it's difficult when I say, oh, you just only need 100 Rand to open an account, you know. So it's just trying to push against those barriers and being more loud in saying you can't do it, and putting that into action.
Now that we've gotten that aspect of financial literacy out of the way, quite critical, I should say. Let's talk about this very dynamic and complex world of financial literacy, and I just want to understand how far-reaching your approach to financial literacy is, especially in a world in Eswatini where the youth is plagued by betting habits, loans, and just, you know, they take risks that are not so smart. Yeah, so, you know, speak to me about that, your financial literacy approach. Does it really reach those heights where they understand now that, you know, I need to change my habits in this regard, or you just, you know, just teach saving only?
Okay. So in our approach, we try to use certain pillars, right? Financial inclusion is access, right? And awareness of the products that exist. Awareness, for instance, of insurance, the types of insurance that you can have as an individual. And then there's financial capability, right? And financial capability for us now speaks to, I have the knowledge, now I must put it into practice. I must make informed decisions, right? And so to that, we try to make sure that every time when we impart knowledge, it takes all of those pillars into consideration.
100%.
Yes, taking all of those pillars into consideration. I'll make another example. You have access to credit, right? But now you do not have the capability of making an informed decision. So we come in to say, what information should I be aware of as I'm taking a loan? What information should I ask when I'm going to take a loan? So that aspect then brings into the aspect of financial capability and then responsible decisions. So we try to be holistic, and also we try to look at activities or certain financial elements that are taking place in the industry, right? Or even on social media. So immediately we see that there is, for instance, a pyramid scheme that has arisen. We try our best to target, you know, those areas as well, so that we're not just focusing on debt or saving, but we're focusing on you as an entire person
100%.
and the access and information that you also have access to.
So pyramid schemes, online betting, all of those things, you are cognizant of all those things and you're addressing it. Mashinga Mashwama, just giving us free financial literacy tips. Even myself, I'm a better person than I was before we started this conversation. She's from the Central Bank and she's the market conduct specialist. After the break, Lungalele speaks to Mtabula Dlamini from Nedbank Eswatini. They teach you about their overdraft product. Stay with us.